Yeah, give us a hand sign when we're about to start. Is your really loud? Okay. Mine too, but we'll get through it.
Okay. My
If
voice
Stacy
on.
was here, she'd be busting your eardrums.
Understand.
Hello and welcome to Cognitions, Speaking the Unspeakable with JP and Stacy D. We are broadcasting here on KUAW Radio, which stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. Today, the D is not in the studio. I have a guest host. I have multiple guest hosts. The bright and intelligent students from De La Salle High School. And first up, we have Micah. Micah, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am good, sir. Would you tell us a little bit about De La Salle and the career vocational mentoring program that you all are doing?
Okay. Well, my name is Micah Smith. I will be a junior at De La Salle. And, well, De La Salle, one thing I like about De La Salle is the partnerships and internships they have with different organizations and programs. Like, one of them, my sister was in 2020 leadership, and they had this thing where they take students on to go camping, and I was too late to do that. So, and another thing I like about De La Salle is the attendance incentives where you when you have 80% or higher attendance, they give you a ticket, and so you can go to a food truck and get some food, and sometimes they'll have desserts like donuts. And another thing I like about De La Salle, they had this internship. It's called Block 37, and it's a bunch of internships where you work with, well, for example, like the YMCA. And my internship was I worked at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, and they had this Freedom School there, and we cooked for the Freedom School scholars and the interns, and they had this thing called Harambe. Well, it was in the morning where you just dance and sing, and it was really fun.
That sounds great. All right, and tell me, what are your career interests?
My career interests are mechanical engineering
Ooh.
or a football player.
Okay, so you're a math person.
I guess you could say that.
Okay, you actually enjoy math.
Yes, math used to be one of my favorite subjects.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
Because, engineers, they take a lot of math. They got the Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, differential equations. I myself struggled tremendously with math, so I am impressed, sir, that you are a math person. All right. Do you have a question of the day? What question of the day did you all come up with for the show today?
The question of the day is, can having a good relationship with your team help better cope with life stressors?
Right. Okay. So we'll be getting into that a little later in the show. Before we get to that, we're going to do our check-in, and then we're going to do mental health and illness in the news. Do you have a check-in for us today, sir?
Yes, I do. Well,
What you got?
my cousin's birthday was last month, and then my little cousin's birthday was the 26th. And on Saturday, my auntie took us to Adventure Oasis, and we just celebrated by going swimming. It took us all day because we was looking for which place to go to. But yeah, we just went swimming on
Okay.
Saturday. It was fun. Me and my brother went, and it was a lot of our cousins, and it was a really good. We had a really good time, and I really enjoyed it.
All right. So you all enjoyed swimming. Okay. You know, there is a negative stereotype uh, that is applied to the African American community that, you know, black folks don't uh, bother to learn how to swim. And so there are initiatives and programs to bring swimming to the black community so that we can decrease the occurrences of drowning and different things like that. So while you all were out, because it was you and a bunch of cousins and all these wonderful people, tell me, were most of the people swimmers?
Like in our group of our family.
Yeah, did most of the family members know how to swim?
Well, I know there's only one of us who can swim a little bit. I mean, I can swim a little bit, but I wouldn't like go swimming in the ocean. Nah, I'm not ready for all that.
Are you worried about the sharks?
Mm-mm.
You're
Like,
not worried about sharks?
no.
Well, you need to be worried about sharks.
Last time I was swimming, I went too far out, and the current started pulling me. So I almost drowned. Well, me and my cousins and my auntie almost drowned, but we didn't. Fortunately.
Well, thank God that you all did not drown. And you're right, swimming in the ocean, it becomes deep so fast. Like, 1 minute you are, you know, feeling the sand underneath your feet, and then it's like almost instantly you are pulled out, you don't feel anything. And so I'm glad that you all survived that. Here's what I always suggest to people. Now, let me confess to this because I know that my wife is watching the show and she knows, like, I do not enjoy swimming. That is not my thing. And so for me, the first thing I did was learn how to tread water, because to me, even if you're not that great of a swimmer, which I am not, if you know how to tread water, you will at least be able to prevent yourself from drowning. So the next time you and all the cousins are out, and what I want you to do is pay attention to who are proficient at swimming and who is not. And for those who are not, I want you to at least teach them how to tread water. Are you pretty good at treading water?
I don't think so. I don't really know what you mean by treading water. So
Okay, there's treading water. I am the last person to be I am the last person to be talking about this. Treading water is what you do. It's not really swimming. It's just keeping yourself, keeping your head above water when you're just straight up, okay? And there's two approaches to treading water. You have your hands moving to keep, you know, yourself up. And then your feet, there's two different approaches. To me, the easiest one is where your feet are just going like this, as if you're swimming, but because you're sitting up, it just keeps you above the water. As opposed to if you were laying down and, you know, you're doing your flutter kicks, it moves you forward. And so if you're moving your hands and you're doing flutter kicks and you're sitting up, you're treading water.
okay.
Now, the other approach to treading water, which I was never really able to figure out, and I think it's the one that people use the most, is it's kind of moving your feet in like a circular motion while moving your hands, and it keeps you afloat. So my suggestion is the simple one that's a flutter kick and moving your hands. Everybody at the family swimming party needs to be able to at least tread water.
Okay.
And in that way, if folks are in the ocean, as you said, and, you know, you end up getting pulled out a little bit, you can at least tread water to keep yourself above the water while you screaming for help.
Thank you. Now I could go tell my family so they'll know how to tread water.
Right. Okay. That was a pretty good check-in. Any other check-ins, sir?
No.
We covered everything?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So at this time,
We'll be taking a brief break, and we'll be back with mental health and illness in the news.
yes.
Hello, Kansas City. This is Emma Venn with AfriPel. I am encouraging you to come out August 26th for the African Gospel Festival 3.0. If you're looking for a great African food, vendors, gospel artists, that will be the place to be. Highland Community Church of Christ, August 26th, beginning at 5 p.m. Call me 816-824-0275. See you there.
It is time for mental health and illness in the news. And joining me for mental health and illness in the news, we have Ariana and Lyric. How are you two ladies doing?
Good.
You good? Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourselves, and then let's get into what you all have chosen for mental health and illness in the news.
Okay. I'm 16. I go to De La Salle High School. This is my first time on a radio show. Kind of nervous, but also excited.
All right. Nervous and excited. Well, you are off to a great start, okay? So just relax and chill. You're doing a good job. All right. Lyric.
Lyric. I'm 17. I go to De La Salle, and this is my first time doing this.
All right. So you two are also participating in the Block 37 mentoring program, career vocational mentoring, correct?
Correct.
So can I ask, what are your career interests?
I look into being a therapist.
Finally. Yeah. You know, let me tell you. I was sitting here thinking, one of these kids better want to be a therapist, or we're going to have to shut this whole show down. All right. So, Lyric, you are thinking about becoming a therapist. All right. And so, what are your thoughts on that? What made you decide that you wanted to become a therapist?
Me not being able to like express my feelings how I want to, and then I understand other people, so it's like
Okay. And so, you are hoping to be able to help your future clients to be able to express themselves.
yeah,
Okay.
without them being judged.
Without them being judged. Well, the goal, because unfortunately we live in a judgmental society, and that does negatively affect people's freedom and willingness to express themselves. And so, what you'll be helping them with, because you can't eliminate the judgmental aspects of functioning in our society, but what you can help them with is to be true to themselves, to be their true, authentic self, and to not care so much about people judging them. Okay. And this is the reason why this is important. I know we need to get to you all's mental health and illness in the news story, but this is juicy, so I got to roll with this, okay?
Okay.
The reason why this is important is because kids are taught so much to care. You need to care. You need to care about this and care about that. And many of the things that we adults, because I'm also a parent as well as a therapist who works with many teenagers in therapy, it is important to teach young people to care about their grades and their hygiene. You know, we don't want the kids running around funky and ain't used deodorant in a month or so, okay, and their breath is bad. Like kids kids need to care about those things. But the mistake that parents oftentimes make is failing to teach their kids not to over care.
Yeah, sometimes it stresses them out. So
Yes, one of the underlying factors in people experiencing anxiety, it's because they overcare. Parents have to teach their kids to care about those things that are important, but not to overly care about things like, what is this person going to think about me if I express this or express that, if I'm being my true authentic self, if they judge me. Parents have to also teach their kids when to not give a crap. Okay? And that's the balance that I always encourage parents to strike. Like, please do not forget to teach your kids what they need to not give a crap about. Okay? Anxiety, and a lot of the anxiety that I see in the teenagers that I see in therapy is a lot of social anxiety. Social anxiety is when a person has anxiety just about how they present to other people, how they are viewed. You know, oh my God, am I going to say something stupid? Am I not going to know what to say? Are they going to start talking about something that I don't know anything about? Do I look funny? Am I dressed right? All of that is over caring. That's when kids have to tap into, hold up, I'm being my true authentic self and I am a good person. So I don't have to give a crap what they think about the clothes that I chose to wear today. And if they start talking about something that I might not know a whole lot about, I can sit back and learn. I'm not stupid because I do not know a lot about this topic or that topic. And so, as I was saying before, when young people overly care, and this applies to adults as well, because I see a lot of adults in therapy who are struggling with social anxiety and all the other types of anxiety. When people overcare, it will push you over the line into anxiety. So a part of relaxing and chilling out and finding a peaceful place is reminding yourself you don't have to care about those things. You need to care about the fact that you are a good person. You're not seeking to harm people. You're not seeking to make other people feel bad. As long as you know that you are a good person and you're not trying to harm other people, you don't need to care about all that other mess. This is what you will be helping your future teenage clients to understand and set them free from a lot of that anxiety as you give them permission to not give a crap about the things that do not matter or about the people who do not matter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because what happens a lot of times in high school is kids end up caring about kids who actually don't matter. Just because this kid is more popular or more athletic or more attractive or whatever, the more they supposedly are. You have to remind yourself, okay, the people who matter in my life are the people who care about me.
Right.
My friends and my family. I don't need to try to impress these fools over here. They don't matter. Who are they to me?
Right.
And that's what you have to be able to say. Who are they to me? Like, really? Do I have to care about their opinion? They not important in my life and in my world. Okay? So I am so happy that you are planning to become a therapist and you're going to help people with all of this. All right. Ariana, tell me, what are your career aspirations?
Therapist or author.
Girl, are you serious right now? You playing with me. Because I'm also an author.
Oh.
And my latest book it's technically already released, but I'm not fully marketing and fully releasing it until later in the month. And so I have written multiple books. 2 are published, and then I have like 2 or 3 more that are fully written that have to be published. And so I write about, mental health, of course. So tell me, have you started writing your future books? Have you started yet?
So I write poems. So I write most of them in my notes.
You're a poet.
Yes.
Okay, this is wonderful. I wish that we had a little bit of time for some of your poetry, but you all will be joining me and Stacy D next week, right? Mm-hmm. I need you to bring some poetry up in here. Mm-hmm. Because it would be nice if you read a little bit of poetry during the check-in. You gonna be ready for that?
Okay.
You'll be ready. It'll be fine. Okay. Mental health and illness in the news. What do y'all have for me?
Okay, so
what is the name of the article that you all chose?
stress management in teens.
And we've already kind of started talking about that. All right. And so what is in this article that you want our listeners to know?
When they're stressed and are having negative thoughts or feelings about themselves.
Okay. What are some of the things that stress young people out?
Grades.
Toxic households. School.
Keeping up with friendships.
Relationships.
When you say toxic households, can you shed a little light on that for our listeners? Like, what exactly do you mean? What would be considered a toxic environment for young people to be growing up in?
So, like, having to argue every day, or seeing this or that. It's a lot.
A lot of
negativity.
A lot of negativity and a lot of conflict in the household. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I assume you're including not only verbal aggression, screaming, yelling, and people cussing each other out, but also physical aggression, households where there may be domestic violence or something along the line of that. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. What else is stressing young people out?
trying to live up to your parents' expectation.
Ooh, that's a good one. Tell me a little bit about that.
Because sometimes your parents want you to get certain grades, be friends with certain people, and grow up to be like them. But that could be a lot of pressure on a kid because they might not want the same things that the parent wants. So you're battling between what you want and what your parent wants you to do. And it could be a lot of stress and could cause anxiety and depression and just be overwhelming.
You're right. What do you suggest to young people who are in that position where what they're wanting and what their parents are wanting are not exactly lining up? What are your suggestions?
I think it's hard for teenagers to talk to their parents. So me personally, I write in a book and give it to my mom to read later and write back to me.
Okay, that is a good idea. Let's talk about that a little bit. For young people out there who are listening to the show or who are going to watch the show on, Facebook or YouTube, if you are struggling with the one-on-one direct communication with your parent, that is a good idea for you to write your thoughts. And I'm going to explain for a minute why that's a good idea, because we are not able to write as fast as we think. And so when you are writing, it forces you to slow your thoughts down enough to capture them better. So this is the reason why a lot of times therapists will assign journaling to clients, because it forces them to slow their thinking down enough to go to deeper levels of thinking and to touch on and discover underlying issues and factors. And so if you're unable to talk directly to your parents, yes, by all means, Ariana is presenting a good idea to write out what you have to say. Now, here's my suggestion, and y'all let me know what you think about this. I usually like for clients, after they have written it out, to still sit with the person and read what you have written.
I'll
Yes.
say I disagree.
Okay, tell me why.
Sometimes it's hard to do that. Like, it's okay. Like, say you're talking to a therapist. Okay, that's different. You're expressing your feelings. But the person that's causing your problems, you really can't talk to them. As a parent, it's hard.
Okay, so the other solution is to never talk to them about the problems. Is that what you are suggesting,
I wouldn't
Lyric?
say never talk to them. Once they ask about it, then maybe you can talk to them. But just bring it to their attention, no.
Okay, so because most parents, even if you write a note to them and you give it to them, they're going to come to you to discuss it. So at some point, that face-to-face communication is going to have to take place.
Yeah.
Right. The reason why I like for people to try reading what they have written is because it's closer to just being able to have a conversation with a person. Because the goal is to get to the point where you're able to just say what you have to say and feel heard and feel listened to without having to write it and give it to them. Because the goal is to open up that communication between parents and their kids, to get to a level of comfortability where a teenager can just come to their parent and say, we need to talk.
I wouldn't say it's that easy. Like, it depends on the parent and how they react to stuff. Some parents just, they don't want to hear it, nothing. So you look at it as, okay, it's no point in expressing my feelings still.
Well, in those instances, what you do is you address them not being open and receptive to you addressing and expressing your feelings. So instead of coming to them and saying, listen, we need to talk, I have something on my mind, I'm struggling with something, you would start with, okay, we need to talk about the fact that I'm struggling to come and talk to you. We need to talk about the fact that it feels like you don't want to allow me to come and talk to you. Can we talk about the fact that we're having trouble talking?
Yeah, they should start understanding each other more before they get into that.
Yes, because you have to address and fix the communication problem before you can use that communication, that healthy, productive communication, to do problem solving. And this applies to people of all ages. When I see couples who are coming in for therapy, what we first work on is improving their communication so that they can then communicate about, hey, we're having financial problems, or we're having problems with our kids, or we're having this problem, we're having that problem. But first, I have to get them to the point where it's like, okay, can we eliminate the screaming, the hollering, the yelling, the cussing, the name calling?
Sometimes it's hard when they used to that. So for them to let go, it's like, it's going to take time.
And it is hard for people to let go of old habits. This is oftentimes the reason why a lot of times families will say, it's time to go to therapy. It's time for us to schedule an appointment with Lyric so that she can help us to improve our communication, because once our communication is improved, we can live the rest of our lives together addressing things that are not right in our relationship.
And start understanding each other more instead of just arguing, disagreements.
Yes, Lyric, yes. So in the future, they will be contacting you to schedule these sessions. Well, and you too, Ariana. Okay, I'm one for our listeners to pay attention, because within about 7 or 8 years, you will be able to schedule sessions with Ariana and Lyric. Am I right? Is it about 7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
Something like
Okay.
that.
You, what grade are y'all in? Are y'all seniors?
We're going to be juniors.
Okay. So y'all sophomores. You're heading into junior year.
Yeah.
Okay. So y'all have junior year, senior year, and then you'll get your bachelor's, and then you'll get your master's, and then you will start seeing clients and helping them with these things. Okay, this is great. Is there anything else in this article that you all would like for our listeners to know?
I would say when it comes to like stress and stuff, instead of like writing, like you and Ariana mentioned, you could do activities and things to get your mind off of it or try something new.
Very true. My wife is, in addition to being a therapist, she's also a play therapist. And people think that play therapy is just for little kids, but it is not. Play therapists will even do play therapy with adults,
Right.
like sand trays and all these different things. Those, what are they called? The boards, the vision boards. Am I right, Mr. Walker? Is it the vision boards? Mr. Walker, pay attention. The vision boards, which it's really a collage, essentially.
It's like your future. So you doing that really do take your mind off of it. You thinking of good things and not the bad things that's stressing you out.
Well, and they also help people to improve their communication, because if two people are doing a vision board, later they can have a discussion about, hey, what does this mean? And what does this mean? What does this mean? And what was this mean? Years ago, when my wife and I were having trouble conceiving, and her vision board had all this baby stuff on there, little cribs and the little baby. And I was like, Lord, this woman is ready for this baby. And so you are right, though. Those types of expression are also helpful in helping people to come together and improve their relationships and improve their communication. Very smart.
And sometimes in relationships, they be thinking they, like, both of them understand each other, but
Right.
they don't if they not communicating. So once they clash, it's like, okay.
Yes. And this is what I always encourage people to do. I did this with a couple of days ago because they were both communicating, but it was as if one was speaking French and the other was speaking German. Like they were talking. I got them to the point where they were talking, but they didn't understand each other. And so I ended up being in the position of the interpreter and helping them to understand what each other was saying. The assignment I gave them for outside of session is when you are communicating with a loved one, take a moment to say, what do you hear me saying right now? What do you hear me saying? Because you need to be sure that they understand what you are saying. Because a lot of times you'll ask someone, what do you hear me saying? Well, you saying that da 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 da, and you're like, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
That's not what I said.
I want you to, like, actually explain.
Yes. And so this is something, it's always good to do that little check-in. What do you hear me saying? Or for the other person to say, okay, it sounds like you're saying da 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 da. Is that what you're saying? And allow the other person the opportunity to say, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I am saying. And you keep doing that until the person actually understands you and you understand them. Because you cannot solve problems if you don't even understand where each other are coming from.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you guys kind of experience this a little bit in your relationships?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The miscommunication and the misunderstandings. So just check in. Like, what do you hear me saying? Because you're getting real mad right now. So I'm thinking you didn't understand what I said.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out why you pissed.
They take it a different way, and some people don't express their feelings. So it's like, oh my God.
Yes. Yes. All right. I think you guys covered this pretty well. Do you feel like we have covered this pretty well?
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for the question of the day?
Yes.
One of y'all want to take us to commercial?
No.
I don't remember what I'm supposed to say.
All right. We will be right back after a brief commercial. We will be back with our question of the day. All right?
Bye, guys.
Okay, you can get up.
I'm sweating so bad.
My ears wet.
Because it's... All right, welcome back to the show. It is time for our question of the day. And instead of me reading the question of the day, I am going to have my guest co-host, Xavier, tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us what the question of the day is that you came up with, sir. And then we can talk to Braylon. Braylon, how are you?
I'm doing
doing great. Thank you.
Braylon, are you enjoying working with these young people?
Oh, absolutely. Especially all things health concerned, even if it's mental health. I'm glad they're just having these types of conversations. So it's been a real privilege and honor to have them around me and for them to allow me to help them. So it's been a symbiotic relationship, if you will.
Oh, that is wonderful. It really is a blessing. They are wonderful. In just meeting them today, I am impressed with their high intellect. They are doing a really good job considering they have never been on a radio show today. So this is wonderful. Okay, now, Xavier.
Yes.
Boy, you came up with a good question of the day today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your question of the day is, okay, and how you came up with this question.
Yes, sir. My name is Xavier Sidney. I am 14 and I go to Bernard Campbell. And the question of the day is, can having a good relationship with your teen help them cope with life stressors?
Yes.
I came up with the question with the topics that I picked to send into the show, and I was like going back and forth with Miss V, and she said like she was like shooting off different ideas. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna put this like 2 and 2 together, and then the question came out.
Okay. I noticed that 80% of the topics and information that was sent to me from you all had to deal with anxiety and depression. Is that indicative of the gravity of this issue? Teenagers struggling with stress, anxiety. Tell me, what are your thoughts on that? Is this something that you are seeing a lot of amongst your peers? Are they stressed out?
Yes, definitely. Exactly at my school, because the way that they have the educational board set up, it's just tons of like they throw in assignments, homework, and then they want you to get it on time or else you're in trouble. They'll call your parents, and like it just makes the situation seem harder instead of more educational and fun.
Right. Can you, for our listeners, can you kind of describe what stress looks like in a young person? What are some of the signs that teachers and principals and parents especially need to be looking out for? How can we tell when a teenager is stressed out?
I would say, based off of what I've seen, is definitely like if they have like a sad or like not tired, but like mad face kind of, and they're like sitting at their desk or just walking around not talkative, or usually they're like an A+ student raising their hand but they're not anymore, or like if not, then it's just mainly that they're just like sitting there moping around, like they're tired, they're just want to be by themselves, they're like in their feelings, they do not want to have anyone come and bother them and things like that.
This is very interesting. This goes to show how sharp you are, sir. You just identified multiple symptoms of depression and anxiety. Here's the thing about depression and anxiety. They tend to overlap. They tend to hang out with each other. Oftentimes, when a person is diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, they will also have a diagnosis of depression. The way I describe it to clients is depression and anxiety is like two heathen cousins that like to hang out with each other. They really should not be hanging out because they might rob a quick trip, but they love to hang out, okay? And that's how these two fools are. And so some of the symptoms that you have basically addressed are decreased motivation, the not talking much, not raising their hand to participate, decreased talking, sad affect. Affect, it's spelled like affect, but it's pronounced affect. The affect is the outer presentation of our mood. So if a person is feeling sad and they look like this, that's their affect. Okay. And so the mood and the affect are supposed to match. When they don't match, then, I have to assess to see if they're psychotic. Because it's like, I'm sad. The affect is happy, but they're saying they're sad. They're not matching up. Okay. And so sad affect, this is something that is going to be the first sign that adults need to look for, as you are pointing out. If you see a kid and their affect is sad, ask them, are they okay? Are you okay? What's on your mind? Right? Decreased energy is another symptom that you mentioned when you said that it's like being tired, but it can be tiredness and fatigue that is not due to them doing hard work, or they didn't cut 5 lawns the day before. They don't even know why they're tired. They just tired and having a lack of energy. And you also mentioned the symptom of irritability. A lot of times when people think about depression, they only think about that primary symptom of sadness. But in a lot of people, especially young people, they might not present with sadness, they'll present with irritability, anger. And so for adults, if you have a teenager out there and they are irritable and cranky and just in a bad mood, and you're trying to figure out what's wrong with this kid, why are they pissed? They may be struggling with depression. So you just off the top of your head, you listed a lot of symptoms of depression and anxiety. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about what the parents need to do. Because one of the things that I was reading in some information that you sent, this is what it says. And I'm reading it, so it can be incorrect, but you let me know if I'm not describing it correctly. Is kids do their best to get their parents' attention, but they give up easily, and causes them to go down a road of pain and misery because their childhood was destroyed from a failed bond with their parents or guardian. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. I've seen this a lot with a lot of my friends. They be working so hard. We usually share grades with each other to make sure we're both doing good and we're going well through school. And some of them I see from straight A's go to straight F's that fast because they say they don't spend much time with their parents. And you can see it in public too. I know a couple kids that used to deal with this because we be walking around everywhere, right? And the two adults, they be just walking ahead and the kid be walking behind trying to get their attention, ooh, look, there's something fun to do or something like that, and they just push them back and just ignore them blatantly.
Yeah, I am happy to hear you talk about that because oftentimes the complaint that I hear from parents is that their kids who entered into the world loving and adoring them and centering their world around the parents, getting upset if the parents, even leave them with a babysitter, they're crying, they're upset. One of, my daughter, she's 4. I have kids from 4 to 23. It's a lot of kids. Yeah, it's a lot of kids. A lot of kids. Well, because my wife and I, we're all types of parents. We've been biological, adoptive parents, foster parents, so we got a lot of kids. My 4-year-old, when I drop her off for school or daycare, it's she's sad, I'm sad. I'm who gonna start crying first, right? And so a lot of times parents say, well, I don't know how my kids went from that to when they became a teenager. It's they don't want to have anything to do with me. They don't want to talk to me. They think that I don't understand them. I feel rejected. I feel hurt, which is the opposite of what you are presenting. And so I am glad that you are presenting that there is another side to this, that not all teenagers are pushing their parents away. What I think happens is parents get to the point where they expect that when their kid becomes a teenager that they're going to reject them. And so I'm wondering if sometimes they start distancing themselves from their kid because they're thinking, my kid's about to become a teenager. All they're going to care about is their little girlfriend or boyfriend, their friends. Like, they're not going to care about me. So let me just leave them be. And what you're pointing out, especially when it comes to young people who are battling anxiety and depression, it is a mistake for parents to say, I'm going to leave them be. They're fine. They all right. They don't want to be bothered with me no way. And the kid is like, hello, I'm here. Could you please see me? Would you hear me? And so we have these two extremes. And so what I'm wanting to know is, do you have any advice for parents, all parents, the ones who feel rejected by their kids and the ones who are just thinking that the kid doesn't want to be bothered and the kid is like, hello, I need you in my life right now? What can you suggest to those parents?
I can definitely suggest to the parents that say they want to leave their kid alone is like time to time, at least like go and check on them, talk to them, like a decent conversation, and not like let them be and leave them alone. The more times that you leave them alone is the more times they feel like the more times it seems like they don't want to have you around. And then the more that feels is the more that you just want to leave them alone more. And that's the part that gets a lot of people I know, because it just makes them downgrade on themselves.
And so even if a parent thinks that their kid is rejecting them and does not want to be bothered with them, you're saying they still need to check in with their kid.
Yes, sir.
They still need to try to talk to their kid. And I totally agree with what you were saying. In fact, I would go so far as to say, for those parents who the kids are actually rejecting them, because I do see a lot of teenagers in therapy who are like, I don't want to talk to them. I've got you. I got to talk to them too. And I'm like, they're your parents. Like, I'm your therapist. And yes, it's good that we're able to talk about these things, but those are your parents. They're going to be in your life, like, until they drop dead. So you need to work on that relationship as well. And so what I suggest to parents is, even if you have a kid who is saying, I don't go somewhere, I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to talk to you, you don't understand me, you ain't a teenager, parents still need to accept responsibility for trying to connect with their kid, trying to figure out, how can I reconnect with my kid, just in case my kid is struggling with life circumstances that is kicking them into some depression or kicking them into some anxiety, or they just having a hard time, because it's hard being a teenager. It's always been hard being a teenager, period. It's never been easy. And so you were saying, yes, check in. Now, can you think of any specific activities that parents could do to try to re-engage their kid?
Well, definitely not like try to like get board games or like have them go out and play sports. Like, try to talk to your child
Mm-hmm.
and find out what their interests most. Like, it doesn't always have to be on a device, or it doesn't always have to be outside, but at least you can try to find something that they enjoy most, that they can see that you are a trustworthy person, and they don't like try to keep pushing you away.
And so that the kids can see that the parents still care about them and their lives. Now, I'm going to go down a list of some of the things that I assign families to do, and you let me know if you agree or disagree with some of these things.
Yes, sir.
All right, so one of the things I tell parents is, have dinner with your kids every day. Because a lot of times I see families where the parent will finish cooking dinner, the kid fix their plate, they eating in their bedroom, the other kids eating in the living room, the parent, they eating somewhere. Like, everybody's spread apart, but everybody's in the house at the same time. And so I give it as an assignment to families. I need you all to start having dinner together. That's the first step. While you're having dinner, have a conversation. Okay. And so what my wife and I always did with our kids is we would talk about how their day went. Not just, hey, how was your day? And my sons say, oh, it was fine. No, what was fine about it? What happened that was good? Did anything happen that was not good? Did you have any problems with any kids? Did you have any problems with any teachers? Because my wife and I, we real good at showing up at the school and checking teachers, because sometimes, they didn't do my babies right. And so having those conversations, and even talking about like their relationships, and talking about, because sometimes with my sons, what they thought would be a good approach with a girl is things that would get them slapped. We're like, you have no game. Like, what made you think it was okay to say that to her? And so, but over the course of dinner, having conversations about what's going on in the kid's life. But the other thing I assign is for the parents to be open about what's going on in their world also. Because when a kid says, well, Dad, how was your day? Answer. Tell them like, oh, it was a long day, my boss was tripping and da-da-da-da, or it was a good day. An exchange of communication, because young people need to know that it's a little bit of a level playing field. It can't be an expectation that they do all the talking and the parents do all the listening. It's like, no, they want to get all up in the parents' business a little bit. You got to let your kids in your business a little bit, as long as it's appropriate. Okay, and so that's one of the things that I always require. And then the other thing that I assign parents to do, and I know we're really short on time here, is quality time being mandatory. Having a day out of the week where they have family quality time. And for families that can't afford to, go out to restaurants or go to this place or that place, do something, even if it's like having game night or movie night, where they sit and they're playing board games with their kid or they're watching movies or whatever. These are the things to do to build a relationship so that when that teenager starts struggling with life, they have a solid enough foundation and relationship with their parent that they feel like they can come to their parent and say, something bad happened to me today. Like, I had a bad day today. Or somebody's pressuring me to, like, smoke crack or something. Or they need to... People don't talk to people that they don't know. Parents have to know their kids and allow their kids to know them in order for the kids to feel comfortable coming and talking to them. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree, for sure.
You agree with all of those assignments that I give clients?
Yes.
Well, thank you, sir. All right. Is there anything else? Do you have any other advice, suggestions, or anything for parents to help them to bridge that connection with their teenagers?
Definitely. Because this is one problem that I also deal with people I know. I'm going to say guardians, parents. Yeah. And it's just mainly like when you are feeling sad or when you see your kid feeling sad, don't yell at them. Like, actually try to talk to them. I feel like it's already been said, but I need to make sure I say it again, because that's one thing that will make everything worse. Like, to the point where the kid wants to push the parent away, the parent wants to push the kid away, let the kid grow and stuff like that. Don't yell at them. Just have a nice, calm conversation.
You are absolutely right. I'm going to add something to that. I want for young people to be able to address that with their parents. If you're trying to talk to your kid, to your parent, and they start yelling, and you trying to figure out, why is this person yelling at me right now? Ask them. Just say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. You're yelling at me right now. I'm just trying to talk to you. I don't. Are you yelling because I did something wrong? Did I say something wrong? I'm confused by your response to me right now. Kids have a right to hold parents accountable to that level of parenting. It's not disrespectful for a kid to say, I'm confused. I don't understand the yelling that's happening right now.
Yes, sir.
And ask them, could you please stop yelling at me? I'm just trying to talk to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. That is our show for today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for this wonderful question of the day. Xavier, you did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Okay. It is great having you and Braylon and all of your peers. That is our show for today. Thank you and God bless.